Being single in your 30s is totally different than being single in your 20s. Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Lori. So today I'm going to share something a little bit personal, but mostly because I want to talk about the implications of that and how that applies to everyone else. So I'm single again, and without getting too much in detail, because I do still have a lot of love and respect for my ex, and I'm not trying to air my personal stuff out there. I wanted to talk about the implications of being single when you're my age, 33, versus when, I was single like in my mid-20s, because it's really different. In my 20s, especially like my early 20s to my mid 20s, when faced with the possibility of being single, people almost encouraged me to do so. You know what I mean? It was seen as like a sign of freedom. Like, you know what? Be single. You could do better and blah, blah, blah. And everyone's optimistic for you and all this other stuff, right? When you're single at 33, everybody like feels sorry for you for some reason. It's suddenly like oh, you're single again? Damn. Because suddenly it occurs to people that you might be single for the rest of your life. And I want to talk about that because I think that even though people around us do mean well, some of the pressures that they give us can really impact our emotional well-being and also the way we make some of our life decisions. The concern often manifests in just being really worried about you for reasons that they just won't come out and say, or even just coming out and saying, oh, aren't you worried that you should settle down at some point? Sometimes it's just people coming to console you, saying things like, don't worry, you're like a really beautiful person with a great personality, I'm sure you'll get somebody. And though they mean well, I try not to listen to them. They are sort of low-key hinting that there's something wrong with you because you're single at an age where they kind of expected you to be on your way to marriage or having kids or something like that. And I get where they're coming from because that is a sort of product of our society these days. There is the thing that women deal with, the biological clock, and we're talking every day about how women can circumvent that, whether that's freezing their eggs or having children by themselves before they get married and stuff like that. But in general, society is just not really accepting of the idea that maybe you will be a spinster, if that's what you want to call it. Personally, I actually have a lot of friends who are between several years to like 10 to 15 years older than me, and I watched a lot of them go through this when I was younger. I saw them reach their late 20s and start planning, how they were gonna have to go on lots of dates so that they can meet a guy, so that they can, potentially have a kid by the time they reach their mid-30s. I've seen friends who have gone through breakups later in their life than they wanted to, and sort of deal with the emotions around that. So when I reached my 30s, I was sort of prepared for that external pressure. And I just want to say to women out there who are still young and thinking ahead, or women who are my age and really worried, or women who are older than me and are sort of already past the point of being worried and constantly under this burden of, sympathy and all this other stuff from people who really don't know you like that and should not be judging your life. I just want you guys to know that you are gonna be okay. I think the biggest thing that we grew up learning that we need to correct in adulthood is the idea that there is such thing as a perfect life, and that falling short of that perfect life means that you've done something wrong. So in our time, a perfect life means, getting a good job, meeting a great partner, getting married, having kids, and then, letting that cycle continue into the next generation. And there's nothing wrong with wanting that. Biologically, I think it's natural that people want kids eventually when they get to a certain point in their lives, but it's also natural for people not to want kids. And personally, I'll say that I would love to have kids. And I do recognize that I have a biological limitation to do that. But my thing is, I want kids just like I want a lot of things in life. And that doesn't mean that I have to have kids or my life is gonna be a failure. I mean, I wanted to be a singer when I was a kid. I would still love to be a singer, if I could manage it, but I've accepted that at this point that's probably not gonna happen, and I'm totally okay with it because there are lots of things that I want out of my life. There are lots of things that'll fulfill it, and it doesn't mean that I need to have every single one of them in order to be a whole person. Don't get me wrong, this is not me saying that at 33 I'm ready to like throw in the towel because I'm single again, because definitely not. And I'm not saying that to be defensive, I'm not saying that to console myself. I'm a genuinely happy person. I love my life, I love the people around me, I love that the relationships that I've had, I love the fact that they're over. Life is just this thing that we work really hard at, to try to maximize the happy moments and minimize the bad ones. And if we can manage to do that, we're good. Realistically speaking, I know that I might reach a point in my life 3 to 4 years from now where I really want kids, or I start to, you know, be desperate for kids or something like that. And I'll deal with that when the time comes. You know, if I have to, I can try to have kids on my own, or I can adopt or whatever. But my point is, I have decided very definitively that I'm not willing to, you know, do things like be in relationships or pursue a marriage or something like that just for the sole purpose of having children, because I just don't think that that serves my life. I don't think that would be good for my hypothetical children, and that's just a decision that I make. You know, I'm sure there are a lot of women who don't feel that way about themselves, but personally, I don't ever want to feel pressure to do anything in my life for the reason of my biological clock ticking or because I want children. This was not an easy decision for me to make. I went through a very long period of soul searching. I cried, you know, through it. I thought about whether I might regret my whole life if I, you know, turned 45 one day and thought, God, like, I don't have kids and I feel so sad for myself. I realized that that's a possibility. But after thinking it through, I thought, you know what? I'd be a lot more sad if I was 45 and in a marriage that I hated and living a life that I didn't want because I wanted children. Not that I wouldn't love my children at that point, I'm sure I would. But I just don't want to make my life decisions that way, if that makes any sense. And since I've decided that, I have felt very liberated. I feel that I can do things as I wish. I don't feel that I have to answer to anyone, any expectation of me. And I've tried to explain this to my mom, and she sort of gets it. I mean, partially because she raised us as a single parent, so she knows that it's possible to be happy without a spouse and without a happy marriage. I think in general, I'm really just against the idea that there is only such thing as one type of perfect family, and that perfect family is a mommy, a daddy, and 2.5 kids. I didn't grow up in a family like that. I'm very happy with the way I turned out. I love my family. I love my mom, my brother, my grandparents. They mean the world to me. The idea that there is perfection is just stupid. And the idea that anything that differs from that idea of perfection is inferior is also stupid. I think the most important thing to do is to figure out exactly what you want. I mean, really, what is your bottom line? And this is not an easy question to answer, okay? Because you really need to figure out, for example, if you want kids so badly and you want to raise them in a quote-unquote perfect family so badly that you are willing to marry anyone, maybe a person that you wouldn't normally have married if you were maybe 25 or something like that, right? AKA settling. If you're willing to do that because you really, really want that life, like your end all be all, like what you really need to complete yourself is a perfect family, then go do your thing. I won't judge you for it. I mean, you should try to do what you want to do. If you feel that conflicted about that and that's not necessarily what you want and you're not sure, don't let the pressure make you feel like you have to do it. I'm not saying that you should accept it and resign yourself to not having kids. Like, that's not what I've done. But I have thought through the possibility, and it was hard, and I've now come to terms with it. So I know that, like, yeah, I might get married and have kids. I might not get married and have kids. I might not have kids at all. And I'm actually okay with all of those things because I'm okay with myself. I just figured I would put this topic out there. I didn't really plan what I was gonna say, so sorry if I rambled a lot, but let me know what you guys think. And when I've sort of thought it through a little bit more, I might say some more about this because I do feel like it's a very relevant topic, especially for women in my age category. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.